First, we head to Gulfport, Mississippi. This is the Harrison County Courthouse. This is a 1997 Toyota Tacoma. And this is 28-year-old Keith Rio Cavalier. At 5:43 a.m., Cavalier illegally parked his red pickup right through one of the windows of the courthouse. At first, Cavalier seems to be stuck inside the truck. But then, here he comes through the window. Fortunately, both he and his flip-flops appear to be okay. After taking a few moments to survey the scene, Cavalier stands there, cavalierly, and eventually walks away. Thankfully, because it was so early on a Saturday morning, the building was closed and no one was hurt. Police arrested Cavalier shortly after the incident. When asked why he did it, well, he had a perfectly good reason. He said he was trying to contact the police about his stolen drug paraphernalia. And apparently he felt this was the best way to do it. It is unclear whether Cavalier got his drug paraphernalia back, but he did pick up charges of malicious mischief and driving under the influence. Now to the Moore Justice Center in Brevard County, Florida.
2 charges, assault and resisting. You have the public, Mr.
Where public defender Andrew Weinstock and his client are appearing before Judge John Murphy, whose voice you hear.
Public defender, what do you want to do?
Have they filed?
They have.
I'm not waiving.
All right, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do? I'm not waiving. If you want to set it for trial, set it for trial.
Judge Murphy wants the defendant to waive his right to a speedy trial because the court's schedule's backed up. Weinstock isn't budging, and tensions are mounting.
If I had a rock, I would throw it at you right now.
You know,
stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit
you know
down.
what? I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand and represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
If you want to fight, let's go out back, and I'll just beat
Let's
your
go.
ass.
They both head to the hallway behind the courtroom, just out of the view of the court's cameras. Believe it or not, they get into a physical altercation until Judge Murphy returns to the courtroom alone.
Thank you.
I will catch my breath eventually. Man, I'm an old man.
Once Judge Murphy catches his breath, he continues with the rest of the hearings without Weinstock present.
Your choices, considering there's probably going to be a changeover in personnel, are setting it for trial June 9th, or if you were wanting to waive speedy, we would set it for July 15th.
I would like to get it done as fast as possible.
That doesn't help me.
The incident's investigated by the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission, who charged Judge John Murphy with threatening to commit violence against an assistant public defender, engaging in a physical altercation with counsel, and resuming his docket while defendants were without counsel. The case eventually reaches the Florida Supreme Court, which orders the immediate suspension and permanent removal of Judge Murphy from his post. Andrew Weinstock later resigns from the public defender's office. Orange County, Florida, where the defendant is making his second appearance here on court cam.
Jeremy DeWitt. Did I say that right? Yes, sir.
41-year-old Jeremy DeWitt is charged with carrying a concealed weapon. The Orange County Sheriff's Office is very familiar with DeWitt.
Oh, God, not him again. It's Jeremy.
Since DeWitt's been arrested several times in the past and convicted once for impersonating a police officer.
What are you doing? What the it look like I'm doing, Get the over before you find out. Stop pretending you're a police officer.
DeWitt runs a security company that provides escort service during funeral processions. But he has a long history of using this business to drive recklessly through traffic, block intersections,
Go past me! Go past me!
and confront other drivers when he believes they're disrupting his services.
Hey! Pull over! Pull over!
Police eventually caught up with DeWitt, and he was charged in 2 different counties with impersonating an officer and failing to register as a sex offender. He was released on bond, and that's when police catch up with him again, 10 months later. A deputy stops him along with one of his employees when he sees DeWitt carrying what appears to be a firearm.
Don't reach for that firearm. Walk away from your bike. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Go down to your knees. Do not reach for that firearm. You're being secure because you're openly carrying a firearm. What? You're openly carrying a firearm.
It's illegal to openly carry a firearm in Florida, and after he's placed in cuffs, the deputy tries to remove DeWitt's helmet, which the faux police officer does not appreciate.
What are you yanking my helmet
I'm
off?
trying to identify you because I can't see you.
Trying to identify me?
When DeWitt learns why he's being arrested, he goes ballistic.
Carrying a pepper ball. You already know that.
I do not know that. That is a firearm. That is a firearm right now. All right, Jeremy, you're being arrested for carrying a concealed weapon.
Concealed. It was in plain view.
That's not plain view. That's concealed. That holster's
How
concealed.
the... What are you talking about?
DeWitt is furious with police, and there seems to be only one thing on his mind.
Give me a lieutenant. Give me a lieutenant. It was in plain view. It's in plain view. Give me a lieutenant.
Sit down. Sit down and be quiet.
Where's the lieutenant? Where's the lieutenant? Where's the lieutenant?
But the real police don't take kindly to his demands.
Give me a lieutenant. This is not right.
Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? I'm a deputy. I'm not an officer. You don't tell me what to do.
I understand.
Stop yelling at me, and I'm going to stop yelling at you. Do not yell. Do not raise your voice at me.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand?
I understand.
You've already asked the sergeant for a lieutenant. You don't get to pick and choose who comes to the traffic stop.
DeWitt's taken to the station and officially charged with carrying a concealed weapon. But when it's later determined it was just an unloaded pepper ball gun,
This online identifies as a Glock, basically a Glock replica. Can you show me on here anywhere, I mean, I don't know why you'd have a light on a less lethal, but can you show me anywhere on here where it gives anybody the idea that this is not a firearm, that it's a less lethal?
I can't answer that. I don't make those. But you know they're less lethal.
No, I'm asking. If I saw this, I wouldn't know that.
That's where you're. But you can save that for somebody else.
Okay.
How's it going, sir?
Good. How are you?
the charges are dropped.
Wherever you want to go. Do you need a ride? Where can I take you?
Isn't it amazing how nice you guys are when you screw up? Thank you. Let's go. Come on.
But DeWitt's far from being out of the woods. Because of this recent arrest, his current bond is revoked. So DeWitt goes before the judge to clarify the situation.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I was on bond. They revoked my bond with a new charge, but that charge was dropped.
He has approximately 10 or 11 other cases that he's currently incarcerated.
Oh, you got a bunch of different cases that are keeping you.
Right.
DeWitt's eventually set free with his bond back in place, but will still stand trial for impersonating a police officer, and if found guilty, he could be looking at 5 years in prison.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Yep.
We're off now to Raleigh, North Carolina, and the Wake County Courthouse. Visitors, attorneys, and employees of the court are entering the building and going through the main security checkpoint. Watch closely as this man picks up his personal belongings from the container. Whoops. He has no idea he just dropped his wallet, and now he heads to the elevators. It's not until he attempts to pay a court research fee on another floor that he realizes his wallet is missing. Inside is $1,600 in cash. Fortunately for him, someone returns the wallet to another security checkpoint in the building later that day. Unfortunately for him, it's missing the cash. So security does some sleuthing. Moments after he drops his wallet, this gentleman makes his way through security and apparently becomes aware of the situation. He and the wallet head to the elevators, just missing the wallet's owner. It looks like he's checking out the contents. He goes up to the 4th floor. A short time later, he's back in an elevator. You can see what looks like the wallet here in his folder. He gets off on the 1st floor and turns the wallet into security, minus the cash. He tells them he found the wallet in a bathroom. Security's able to track him down and arrest him in court. What was he doing in court? Defending someone, because he is a defense attorney. He's convicted of misdemeanor larceny, and as a result, he's disbarred, fired from his job, no longer allowed to practice law in the state of North Carolina. Arrangements are made to pay back the $1,600 to its rightful owner. Now we move on to Washtenaw County Trial Court in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Anything further, Mr. Knatra?
I would ask that you follow the sentence agreement, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams?
Nothing further, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor, is there anything you'd like to tell me before I sentence?
21-year-old Brian Earl Taylor is about to receive his sentence for unlawful imprisonment and carrying a concealed weapon. Police reportedly found Taylor struggling with a man while putting a gun to his stomach.
Hello, Honorable Judge O'Brien. My name is Brian Taylor. I would like to start off my speech by saying sorry to the victim, Shawan Smith. My sorrow also to you, Your Honor, for presenting myself in your courtroom again. These 4 months that I have been incarcerated, I have thought of a methodical plan to ensure I never go to prison ever again. I want to go back to school to finish my major business management at Eastern Michigan University. I want to involve myself around people that I grew up with that have positive goals. In conclusion, Your Honor, I would like to apologize to the victim again. I am truly sorry. I am asking you to sentence me to 36 months, please, instead of 42, because I have a 7-year-old brother that looks up to me, and I need to be there for him as a male figure to show him how to grow as a mature young adult. Thank you, Your Honor, for your consideration and letting me speak. And also, I wrote a song. Hello there, Your Honor. I want to say I'm sorry for the things I've done, and I try and be stronger in this life I chose, but I want you to know that door I closed. In Your Honor, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. To my mother, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. To the victim, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry, 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 sorry. Oh. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Well, you're obviously a talented young man, and I hope that you'll be able to use your time productively when you're in the Michigan Department of Corrections to take advantage of the programs that they have, so you will be able to reach your goals.
Despite his performance, Judge O'Brien explains the minimum guideline range for his crimes is 50 to 100 months, regardless of his talent. Taylor's sentenced to 2 years for illegally carrying a concealed weapon and another 18 months to 15 years for unlawful imprisonment. 5 other charges against him are dismissed, so maybe it did have an impact in the end. Now to the Seminole County Circuit Court in Sanford, Florida. It's 6:30 p.m., and a long one-day trial has come to an end.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of driving under the influence.
That defendant is 46-year-old Lisette Gonzalez. Although a verdict for Gonzalez's DUI charge has already been reached, her attorney makes a final plea to Judge Fred Schott.
Your Honor, not enough evidence presented for the jury to find the verdict that they did. They didn't do all the field sobriety examinations that should have been done.
During the trial, it was revealed that Gonzalez was never given a breathalyzer or had her blood drawn. Yet, arresting officer Michael Wagner recorded that she tested above the legal limit of .08 in his official report. Wagner claimed it was an honest mistake, but observed what he believed to be intoxication.
I respectfully ask that this court grant the judgment notwithstanding the verdict.
The attorney is asking the judge to use his power to overturn the jury's verdict and acquit the defendant. It's a move rarely seen in the courtroom.
All right. This isn't a purely circumstantial case. And so I'm going to deny the motion for JOA.
It looks like the case is closed, but Judge Schott has other business with Gonzalez.
Now, we have this other case for driving while license suspended.
2 months after her DUI arrest, Gonzalez was ticketed for driving with a suspended license. Problem is, the only reason her license was suspended was because of the inaccurate paperwork filed by Officer Wagner.
I want to be enlightened.
It was a mistake, admittedly, by Michael Wagner.
I know.
He testified to that today.
He caused her to have her driver's license suspended for at least a few months for nothing. So are you going to null process that case, or am I going to get mad at you today?
The judge is addressing prosecutor Diana Mears.
Perhaps you can get mad at me, Your Honor, but at this point...
Why wouldn't you... Wait a minute. Did you hear the uncontroverted testimony of this officer?
Your Honor.
Then I want you taking him up on perjury.
Your Honor.
Will you take him up for perjury?
He admitted it was a mistake, Your Honor.
No, but he lied. He lied on a sworn
Absolutely
citation.
not, Your Honor, and that is not true.
I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge. No, I'm dismissing the charge.
The judge has just dismissed the defendant's upcoming case, but he's not done yet.
This whole case was fishy, and I have no idea how they... You know what?
Their address on file.
You know what?
The state intends to amend
I'm granting.
the charge and proceed on
I'm rescinding the sentence. I'm granting the JOA.
Judge Schott has just reversed his decision and acquitted the defendant on the spot.
So you're granting it because you don't agree with the state's decision on
I'm granting the JOA in fairness.
In fairness, because you don't like the state's decision today, Your Honor, on the case?
No, you're not. Now that I consider what Officer Wagner testified to and how many times he basically tripped over himself just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause. You're done. Motion, the JOA is granted.
And you're not going to provide a written order on that?
Nope. You want to appeal me? Appeal me.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The case should have never been done. Never.
Thank you for letting us know that, Your Honor.
The defendant, Lisette Gonzalez, walks out of the courtroom, free of all charges. We're headed south, way south, to Wollongong, Australia, for a sentencing hearing. Seated inside what's known as the dock is the defendant, 25-year-old Jesse Rose. The one-time aspiring rugby league player pleaded guilty to the charge of reckless wounding for an assault captured in this surveillance video. After receiving a complaint about Rose's drunken behavior in a pub, he and his mate are asked to leave by security. But when he refuses, a second camera shows things turning physical, and one of the security guards ends up on the floor. Backing away from the situation, Rose then hurls his drinking glass at the downed man, striking him in the head. The guard suffered serious injuries, including a laceration and depressed skull. Now at sentencing, Rose's attorney made a case to not send him to jail, claiming he's a changed man, holding down a steady job and living on the straight and narrow. But Judge Andrew Hasler makes it clear this is no kangaroo court, stating that the assault was too serious to consider leniency. And right about now, he announces Rose's sentence, 14 months in prison. But as one door closes for the defendant, he kicks another one wide open. Unhappy with his sentence, Rose perhaps channels his rugby days and boots open the divider door. It's unclear what he says to these two security guards. One guard takes a step or two back. After some more jawing, Rose takes things up a notch and throws not one, but 2 chairs at the guards. Those are not folding chairs Rose just tossed. Those are standard office chairs weighing up to 60 pounds, or 27 kilograms in Australia. What you might have missed is this guard who sneaks around the backside of the dock and, like a boomerang, flies back into action. First bobbing and weaving, then going down under for a tackle. With the help of the other guard, Rose is pinned to the floor. His girlfriend can be seen in the rear of the courtroom. Other officers eventually enter, get Rose to his feet, and escort him out. For his courtroom tantrum, Jesse Rose was charged with property damage and assaulting a law enforcement officer. An additional 8 months was added to his original 14-month sentence. Now we move on to the Saline County Courthouse in Wilbur, Nebraska, where a witness for the prosecution has just finished her testimony in the first-degree murder trial of Aubrey Trail.
All right, ma'am, you are free to go, and you are no longer sequestered. Thank you very much.
Trail stands accused of killing and dismembering 24-year-old Sydney Loof after wooing her through an online dating app. His alleged accomplice? His girlfriend, Bailey Boswell. They're both charged with criminal conspiracy to commit murder, as well as first-degree murder and improper disposal of human skeletal remains. Another of the prosecution's witnesses then takes the stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, under penalty of perjury, that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please be seated.
Bailey is innocent and I curse you all.
Trail, who has fallen out of his wheelchair, just attempted to slash his own throat with a sharp object after exclaiming that his co-defendant is innocent.
Bailey is innocent and I curse you all.
Sheriff's deputies rushed to the defendant to disarm him.
Stop recording.
Trail is taken to a nearby hospital where he's treated for lacerations on his neck. He's believed to have tried to take his own life. He makes a full recovery. The judge orders the defendant to be handcuffed for the rest of the trial and instructs the jury in regard to the throat-slashing incident they witnessed.
I'm going to order you to disregard the outbursts that you heard this morning and to not consider it in your deliberations at the end of the trial.
2 weeks later, Trail's found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. His attorneys have filed a motion for a new trial. At the time of this production, he had not yet been sentenced. As for his co-defendant, Bailey Boswell, a trial date is set for late 2019. For this next story, we want to warn you, the facts are gruesome. But as you will see, daring escapes aren't only attempted in the American legal system. As we head over to Russia.
Тебе решение суда понятно?
This is 18-year-old Leonid Grazer, who's on trial in Moscow, Russia, for the murder of his sister, Aradia Korol. According to the defendant, he was commanded by Satan to kill his 21-year-old sister, who he stabbed multiple times. Today, Grazer's in the Sherbinsky courthouse behind the walls of a glass cage. This practice is rarely seen today outside of Russia to prevent dangerous criminals from attacking or possibly even escaping, which is exactly what Grazer's planning to do. It appears now that Grazer's calmed down, but moments later, He somehow has slipped through the slats at the top of the bulletproof security dock. A gap in the video doesn't reveal how he did it, but if we look again, officers consider opening the box to stop him, but Grazer's way ahead of them. One officer strikes him, but he's not giving up. The female officer runs over and presses a large button on the wall, calling for backup. Grazer's pants are coming off during the escape. The officer has a firm grip on Grazer's leg and is not about to let go. Then another officer arrives. At this point, these Russian officers are not playing around. As the taser comes out, he makes sure Grazer knows what's about to happen. Grazer's finally had enough. After putting his pants back on, Grazer will go on to make a full confession for the murder and said he had no regrets about what he did. For our next story, we go to Van Buren, Arkansas. But we need to warn you, it contains some images that may be disturbing for some viewers. It's 3:41 p.m., and things are quiet inside the Crawford County Courthouse. The man you see walking up the lobby steps is 48-year-old James Palmer. What you don't see is Palmer concealing 2 handguns and a rifle. He's looking for Judge Gary Cottrell, who ruled against Palmer in a divorce and custody battle with his ex-wife. He pauses to check over his weapon. Palmer's just steps away from Cottrell's office. Thankfully, the judge is not in the office today, but 2 of his assistants are. That's Teresa Armour, who steps into the office where Vicki Jones sits behind the desk. Armour escapes, while Jones suffers a gunshot wound to her leg. Her life is spared when Palmer realizes Cottrell isn't there and leaves. Teresa Armour runs for her life towards the lobby stairs. She ducks into an office. Palmer's right behind her, fully loaded. But he chooses to head down the stairs toward the exit. By now, the rest of the office knows there's an active shooter in the building and have notified police. Inside the squad car en route to the scene is Van Buren police officer David Passon. That's Palmer exiting the courthouse. It looks like he's ditched the overcoat. Corporal Passon is headed straight for him.
He's got a semi-automatic weapon in his hand. 12:45 for the epic shot. The car's been shot.
Palmer fires a series of shots at Passon, but the officer escapes his vehicle with only minor injuries. Several other officers arrive, and this small town turns into a scene out of the Wild West.
He's got a vest on. He's got a vest on. Damn. Shots fired, dude. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Officers eventually hit Palmer.
Backside.
They move to surround the gunman, who later dies at the hospital. Inside the courthouse, EMTs are treating the gunshot wound to Vicki Jones's leg. And luckily, no one else was injured during the shootout. This disturbing incident leads to increased security measures at the court, including metal detectors and a police deputy at the front entrance.
Joining me now is Corporal David Passon from the Van Buren Police Department, who was driving the vehicle that was shot as he arrived at the courthouse. Thank you so much for joining us. That is incredible footage. What do you think when you look back on that?
How am I still alive? That was my first reaction. It was just, this is a miracle.
Take us back, if you will, to when you got the call that day.
Well, when I first got the call, I was told there was a fight in the courthouse.
There's going to be a fight inside the courthouse, a fight inside the courthouse.
And that's all I knew when I hit lights and sirens trying to get through the traffic.
At what point did you realize that you were not responding just to a fight, but that you were dealing with an armed gunman?
I had an unmarked detective trying to tell me where the shooter was. And when he told me he's shooting you, and then I knew, my car was just getting riddled. All I knew was I had glass coming in on me. The noise was crazy.
445 for the epic shot. The car's been shot.
And I just thought to myself, somebody just tried to kill me, so I've got something I've got to do.
So how did you handle it?
You can see in the video, Trailblazer come driving beside me. My detective, he drove his car in between me and the shooter. He got out of his car, I got out of mine, and we all kind of teamed up behind my car to figure out how we were going to handle this situation.
So your car's been completely shot up. Were you injured at all?
I had a shrapnel injury in my right calf.
Well, Corporal Passon, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.